The rain fell hard against the windshield, blurring the world into streaks of gray and silver. Emily Parker squinted through the wipers as thunder rumbled overhead. It had been a long day, one of those days that made her question everything. Her job as a nurse had drained her to the core, the hospital's fluorescent lights, the constant emergencies, and the weight of human suffering clung to her like invisible chains. She wanted nothing more than to get home, curl up with a blanket, and let the world fade away for a little while. But as she drove down the nearly empty highway, something caught her eye. A car pulled to the side of the road, hazard lights blinking through the rain. Emily slowed instinctively. Inside the stalled car sat a woman, older, probably in her late 60s, gripping the steering wheel and looking terrified. Most drivers would have kept going, the storm was fierce, and it was late. But Emily couldn't ignore it. Something deep inside her wouldn't let her. With a sigh, she pulled over, turned on her own hazard lights, and stepped out into the rain. Her scrubs were still damp from work, and now they were soaked through. The cold wind bit her skin, but she pushed forward. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness. It helps spread stories that remind us the world still has good hearts out there. As Emily approached the car, she saw the woman struggling with trembling hands. The older lady's window rolled down just an inch, enough for her voice to escape, trembling with fear. I'm sorry, she stammered. The car just stopped. I don't know what to do. Her name, Emily would soon learn, was Margaret Hayes. Her face was pale, and her eyes were full of panic. Emily reassured her softly, kneeling by the door despite the rain soaking through her hair. It's okay. I'm a nurse. You're safe now. Let me help. She noticed that Margaret was shivering and had a bottle of pills on the passenger seat, heart medication. Emily's concern deepened. Margaret wasn't just stranded, she was unwell. Without hesitation, Emily helped her out of the car, led her to her own vehicle, and turned on the heat. She called for roadside assistance, but deep down, she knew Margaret needed more immediate care. When Margaret's breathing began to hitch, Emily drove her straight to the nearest hospital, her heart pounding as if it were her own life on the line. She stayed beside her all night, through the ER chaos, through the tests, through the waiting. She didn't even know this woman, yet something about her reminded Emily of her own mother, the one she had lost years ago after a similar health scare. Maybe that's why she couldn't walk away. By morning, the storm had cleared. Sunlight streamed through the hospital windows, casting golden warmth over the pale sheets and medical monitors. Margaret stirred, opening her eyes slowly. When she saw Emily sitting nearby, exhaustion etched into her face but her eyes gentle and kind, tears welled up in hers. You stayed, she whispered. Emily smiled faintly. Of course. You shouldn't be alone right now. Margaret's lips trembled. You don't even know me. Emily looked down, her voice soft. Maybe not. But someone once stayed for me when I was alone. And it changed my life. Over the next few days, Emily visited Margaret often. The older woman had no family nearby, her husband had passed away years before, and her only son lived in another state. Their conversations stretched from hospital meals to laughter over coffee in the hospital cafeteria. It was strange, how two strangers could feel like family so quickly. When Margaret was finally discharged, Emily drove her home. Margaret's house was small but warm, a reflection of a life once filled with love. Emily helped tidy up, stocked her fridge, and made sure she had her medication sorted. When Emily finally said goodbye, Margaret took her hand and said something she'd never forget. Emily, one day, when you feel like the world's too hard to bear, remember this: kindness always finds its way back. Always. Emily smiled politely at the time, but she didn't realize just how true those words would become. Months passed. Life moved on. Emily kept working, kept helping others, but her own life was unraveling quietly beneath the surface. The hospital announced staff cuts, and despite her years of dedication, Emily was let go. Bills piled up. Rent was late. Her small apartment felt emptier with every passing night. Her savings vanished faster than she could manage, and soon she found herself standing in front of a help center, clutching her last paycheck, unsure of what to do next. For someone who had spent her life helping others, asking for help felt unbearable. Shame burned inside her. She took odd jobs, worked long hours, but the city was merciless. Her car broke down, and without it, her job search became nearly impossible. She sold what little she could. Some days she skipped meals just to keep her lights on. One cold evening, she sat on a park bench with her last few dollars in her pocket. The sky above was heavy with snow, the air sharp with winter's bite. She pulled her coat tighter, her stomach growling, her mind filled with quiet desperation. She thought of her mother. She thought of the patients she had cared for. And she thought of Margaret, her gentle smile, her words of hope. Emily wondered if kindness really did come back, or if sometimes the world just forgot. As the snow thickened, a sleek car slowed to a stop nearby. A woman stepped out, elegant coat, gray hair neatly pinned. Emily didn't look up at first, assuming it was someone lost. But then she heard the voice. Emily. Her head shot up. Standing there in the snow was Margaret Hayes, her face glowing with warmth and disbelief. Emily blinked in shock, unable to speak. Margaret? What are you doing here? Margaret smiled softly. Looking for you. She knelt down beside Emily, her eyes glistening with emotion. I've been searching for months. I went to the hospital and found out you no longer worked there. I couldn't forget what you did for me. You saved my life. And I promised myself that if I ever got the chance, I'd do the same for you. Emily's throat tightened. You don't owe me anything, Margaret. You don't have to. But before she could finish, Margaret gently interrupted. Emily, kindness isn't a debt. It's a circle. It always comes back. In the weeks that followed, Margaret took Emily into her home. She gave her a warm bed, home-cooked meals, and more than that, she gave her hope again. Margaret's son, Daniel, who owned a small medical clinic, offered Emily a position as a nurse. Slowly, Emily's life began to rebuild. She rediscovered her strength, her laughter, and the purpose she had lost somewhere along the way. Margaret became like a second mother to her. They spent evenings talking over tea, sharing stories, and finding peace in the simple moments life offered. And one day, as they sat together watching the sunset, Margaret said softly, "You see, my dear, what you gave me wasn't just help that night on the road. You gave me another chance at life. Now, life gave you one too." Emily smiled, tears welling in her eyes. She realized then that Margaret had been right all along, kindness really did come full circle. Years passed. Emily eventually opened her own small community clinic, where anyone, rich or poor, could walk in and receive care. She never turned anyone away. On the front wall of the clinic hung a framed photo of her and Margaret, smiling side by side, with a small inscription underneath, "The woman who stopped to help." Every time someone asked about the photo, Emily would tell the story: the rainy night, the broken-down car, the frightened woman who became her family. And every time, she ended it the same way. Never underestimate a small act of kindness. You never know when it might save a life, maybe even your own. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness. Every click helps spread love and compassion around the world, reminding others that humanity still shines bright, even in dark times. Speech balloon special request: comment below if you believe that kindness always finds its way back. Tell us your own story of a moment when someone's small kindness changed your life. You never know who might need to hear it. As the years rolled on, Emily often thought back to that stormy night when everything began. A single choice, to stop and help, had changed two lives forever. She had once been the woman who gave, and later became the one who received. And through it all, one truth remained clear in her heart: kindness, no matter how small, always comes full circle. The end.